In my last video I talked about an impending rain that was anticipated and some adjustments to a small pond in advance of that rain to absorb more of that water and hopefully hold water into the fall. So I'd like to review how that worked out. First things first, how much rain did we get? Always worth having a rain meter, generally less than $10. On the right there is inches. Let me tap to focus. 2.5 inches. Significant amount in the last 48 hours. Enough to fill on our clayey north-facing slope a fair bit of water features. Before we look at that pond, let's look at a few other quick side areas and see how they fared. It feels so valuable to have many small ponds rather than one monolithic pond, and hand-dug wise, the price is definitely right. That little pond is filled. Our rice and watercress polyculture has water gently moving through it. Our little hand-dug well is completely full. We don't need to pull from that for the rest of the season probably, but if it gets hot and dry, we have it. More rice and watercress getting gently flowed through with water. Real pleased. It's so nice to have all these little systems that can just respond to these inundations. Down slope of there, down watershed, is our little frog paradise. I have a feeling we're going to see a fair number of them jump in. This is where all the frogs come to play. This was not too far off from being empty the other day. They all jumped in before when I came and looked at it. Filled right on up. This receives the overflow from the garden. Very happy space for these frogs now. I may try to go in and seal this, but I like the idea of it kind of getting full and then emptying down a little. It overflowed enough that duckweed went over the speed bump. There's a little frog jumping in. And so I'm going to harvest this duckweed to send to the chickens, because once this dries out, the duckweed will die. But this comes back to another video I made of these speed bumps down slope. Worked quite nicely. They're both filled with water, but I don't see any chips or duckweed. It's a great indicator here. There's almost no duckweed in this zone, which means that there should be almost or absolutely no soil that moved down here. So these systems are getting dialed in, and really, really important note, I think you get it from the theme of all this. This is not designed in advance. This is, let's try a little, let's see what works. Whoop, that really didn't work, let's adjust. And so on and so forth. And over the course of years, they slowly deepen and evolve into functional systems. 2 to 3 years from now, I expect to make videos that explain how poorly designed these were, because we got it much better. So you can just start where you are with a shovel, by the way. But enough of the cheesy pep talks and side views. I just think it's interesting to see there's so many different little water features to explore after a rain. But the reason you may be here, and the reason I'm making this video, is to look at this water feature. Dum-da-da. Yeah, filled right on up. Completely filled to the point of overflowing. But, let me get over a little closer. So, for the most part, feel very good about how this worked out. And got some feedback from the system of adjustments to make as time allows. Number one, as I'm seeing, you may see the water's coming in and it's certainly trickling over right there. I had intended for it to come all the way around and fill in over there, so there's more opportunity for silt to dump out. Not a big deal at all, that's just very easy. Dig down with the shovel right around here, right around there. With all this water, it makes it very easy to make completely 100% accurate minor adjustments. So that's easy enough. Will it do that? Probably got a little bit more silt and nutrient in here than if I had gotten that right from the outset, but I'm not complaining. So, and the other thing I'm seeing is on the far end, there's some floating debris, but the grasses there did the job that I had asked them to do, which is to hold material. On the other side, the water is overflowing gently and relatively crystal clear on its way towards the chicken yard, where it'll pick up more nutrient, and then finally to the living wall along the road. So all of these capacitors and batteries are filled and they're overflowing into appropriate neighbors. So the last order of business for me is before we think about adding fish and plants and all that. Uh-oh, I carried duckweed. I carried duckweed on my boot. And so it begins. That's fine. Boy, life moves, doesn't it? I wasn't intending to spike this with duckweed, but you know what? Duckweed intended to spike itself, so I'm just a vessel. Anyway, I'm going to seal this with bentonite by sprinkling it along the edges, trusting that the moving water will find wherever little holes are in the side walls of this, and that the bentonite will be drawn into it and plug it. Feels like the most passive way to make that adjustment. And then we'll review. The last time this was filled, I believe it was roughly 3 weeks before it started really dropping its level. So I will do that sodium bentonite treatment now and then monitor it and see if there's a change. Boy, this is a great image of dispersal, huh? Truly was not my intention to carry duckweed over here, and it's good to remember to be careful of what's attached to you, huh? But as a native filtering beneficial organism, I'm very happy to have it in this pond. Once it feels like it's sealed, water lotus will come in, goldfish will come in, and we'll start developing some real ecosystem in here. Some deeper aquatics, some marginal aquatics. We'll maintain this bed as a cuttings bed and see how it evolves. Of course, we'll document as it goes. There will be refinements. There will be elements that I realize in retrospect were not appropriate and we adjust, but overall it's following the plan that I had for it and showing me some good information. So yeah, really great note with all this is to do waterworks in advance of heavy rains. Do your best to eyeball what's going on and then use the water level. It's hard to dig a pond when it's filled, right? But once there's minor adjustments, final levels, overflows, sill plates, that kind of stuff you can do when it's swollen, and that water really gives you immediate feedback. So one slice of shovel should change the water from, and I can put that slice right there, and that will redirect this. So there you have it. It worked. More ponds. I want 1 million of these.